Hey guys, Marcus Melnick here with Firearm Mentor. Hope you're enjoying my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. These little things are free to you and really help the channel. I appreciate your support. Enjoy. Thank you.
The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters. Greetings and welcome back to the Personal Safety Show. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor and Just to Logic, your host. In the first half of the show, we were talking about different laws and court decisions, and we're going to be continuing that conversation. This is an interesting one. On February 14th, actually it was February 13th, a federal court blocked a state's new 3-day gun waiting period. Ooh. In Illinois, you have to have a firearm owner identification card to purchase firearms, and on all firearm purchases, there is a 72-hour waiting period. Here's the story. A Trump-appointed federal judge on Thursday iced Maine's new arbitrary 72-hour waiting period between purchasing and taking possession of a firearm. This new law, without the governor's signature it passed without the governor's signature last April and established a mandatory limbo period, or in Illinois we call it a cooling off period, beyond the time it takes to typically conduct a background check. Backed by Democrats and anti-gun activists, it passed the state legislature by a razor-thin margin, authorizing a fine of up to $1,000 for each violation. Pro-Second Amendment and firearms trades groups campaigned against the measure and then took the state to court over whether the waiting period was legal once it became law. This is where Judge Lance Walker of the U.S. District Court for the District of Maine enters the story. Granting a preliminary injunction of the state's waiting period law on February 13th, Walker, a longtime Maine District and Superior Court judge appointed to the federal bench in 2018, took exception with Maine's Democratic Attorney General Aaron Frey's argument that the waiting period was in line with the Second Amendment. Though Frey concedes that the Constitution makes inviolate a right to keep and bear arms, he asserts that it does not protect the corollary right to acquire arms, which is a curious construction. In an interpretation that is not only unsupported in the text of the Constitution, it does not exist, but one that makes the core right to keep and bear arms illusionary if it is regulated to those arms in circulation at the time of the founding or through sales that are not subject to a background check. In Illinois, every sale is subject to a background check. If it is a person-to-person, the person can either go to a federal firearms licensee and they conduct a background check, or they can go into the Illinois State Police website, which is ISPFSB, which stands for Illinois State Police Firearms Services Bureau, to determine if the FOID card of the purchaser is valid. They don't get the results of the background check, they just get a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Because the act of acquiring a firearm included by purchase falls within the ambit of what it means to keep and bear arms, it is presumptively protected by the Second Amendment. Citing a high likelihood that the case will succeed on its merits, Walker placed the waiting period on hold until the challenge against the law is resolved in court. The case was brought by several individuals, federal firearms licensees, and an organization that provides firearms training and is also supported by the National Shooting Sports Foundation, the NSSF. Lawrence Keene, who is the Senior Vice President and General Counsel of the NSSF, said, "This decision by the court is an affirmation that unconstitutional delays in the free exercise of rights are not in compliance with the Second Amendment rights guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution. Rights delayed are rights denied. The decision to enjoin this law, while it is challenged in court, ensures that law-abiding Maine residents are not encumbered and deprived of their rights to keep and bear arms after they have proven that they are not prohibited from legally possessing a firearm. We saw problems during the pandemic. That's the time period, not because of the pandemic, although the pandemic did raise anxiety levels of everyone, including the toughest of the tough. But the reality is there are people that never considered owning a firearm before who were previously anti-gun. Oh, I'm going to go get a gun now. There's riots, and the riots were from police action, whether justified or unjustified. I'm not making any determinations here. But in any event, there was a lot of violence. There was a lot of property destruction, and people got scared. And a lot of people who never considered owning a gun before said, I'm going to go buy a gun. And they go into Walmart or wherever, a gun store, and say, okay, I want to buy a gun. What do you want to buy? A gun. Well, where's your FOID card? My what? Your FOID card, Firearm Owner Identification Card. Now, Illinois law says that the state can take no more than 30 days to issue a FOID card, but the reality of the situation was during that time period, the Firearm Services Bureau was inundated with thousands upon thousands of requests, and they were a very small office. They did not have the bandwidth to do that, all that stuff within 30 days. And again, that's not a judgment, that's reality. So all these anti-gun people who supported that people couldn't have guns, now wanted a gun, couldn't get it. Interesting fact. They had to wait more than 30 days, in some cases 6 months or more, to get the license to have a firearm. And then they waited all this time. They go back to the gun store. They finally get their card in the mail. They go to buy the gun, and they say, give me the $500. And the gun store says, thank you very much. I'll see you in 3 days. What? You mean I don't walk out with the gun now? No, there's a 3-day waiting period, which is a cooling down period. Not a bad idea for first-time gun owners, because you don't want someone to be involved in a domestic violence situation, be upset in the moment, go buy a gun, and then go make some bad decisions with the gun. The 72 hours is enacted to prevent someone from acting violently in a crime of passion. I'm giving you an opinion. I really don't think it matters for someone who's an existing gun owner. That's just my take on it. Stay tuned for more. I want my listeners to know that this is my dream, teaching people about safety. If it weren't for you, if it weren't for my listeners, I couldn't live my dream. So on behalf of my family and myself, I want to thank each and every one of you for allowing me to live my dream. And I also want to continue to live my dream, and I'm excited to continue to spread the word of safety. Recently, I began a new service as a conference keynote speaker. So if anyone would like for me to speak at future events, or if anyone knows of an introduction or would like to discuss how we can work with one another, I'd love to do just that. The keynote speaking website is www.stress2logic.com. That is STRESS2logic.com. If you're aware of any conference speaking engagements where you'd like to have me speak, I'd love an introduction. You can always share my electronic business card, which is Marcus Melnick, MarcusMelnick.com. Now, back to the show. You guys just heard the commercial for my public speaking business, Stress to Logic. And I want to share something that I felt was very heartwarming that happened to me this week. So as some of you know, or many of you know, I also work full-time for a Fortune 500 company in addition to the Firearm Mentor and Stress to Logic businesses. And we had an outing at Pinstripes. This has nothing to do with firearms, but it does have to do with safety. And it was a bowling event. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't bowl because I'm still recovering from shoulder surgery. But I'm on the phone. I was talking to my wife, and we were just kind of coordinating later in the day. And I look up, and I saw a group of people. Now, late last year, I did a seminar, a Street Smart seminar, for Total Link, which is a group in Northbrook that caters to adults with special needs. and people in the group had various special needs. The one that was recognizable to me was Down syndrome. But we absolutely had a blast. Now, one of the things I want to tell everyone is that I always cater my seminars to the audience. And the audience here, I asked about them. I said, what do they like to watch on TV? What are their favorite movies? And I was told that they are all fans of Disney. Cool. I got this. So in the seminar, I basically told them I was going to give them the tool set to not be scammed, not be taken advantage of. And that's going to be their Mystery Mouse-Tool, which is from Mickey Mouse Playhouse, where there's always a mystery, and Mickey Mouse has a backpack, and he's got tools in it, like a magnifying glass or whatever the story happens to be, and there's always a mystery tool. And it's called the Mystery Mouse-Tool. And these kids lit up. I shouldn't say kids, they were young adults. They were in their 20s. One guy had a Star Wars shirt on. I'm a Star Wars nerd. Apparently, he was a Star Wars nerd too. So he asked me a question, and I waved my hand like Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I said, "You don't need to ask that question." That was from the original Star Wars movie. And he just lit up like a Christmas tree. Like, oh my God, this guy knows. And apparently he's got some toy lightsabers that he likes to play with. And it was just really cool for me to see that. I also sang a song from them from Moana. I see what's happening here. I know, on the radio. Oh, I just sang on the radio. Wow, cool. But in any event, I looked up from my phone and I saw this group. Now, they didn't see me at that time. So I finished my phone call with my wife, and I went up to them, big hugs. And some of them needed a little bit of a reminder that, oh, remember Marcus gave us the seminar on safety? Oh, yeah. And then, boom, they were reminded. And it was just really made my heart feel great that I was able to impact these people's lives. And I cater to the people. I also do seminars with the elderly on street smarts for older Americans, and that talks about the scams that are online, and you owe taxes, so send me money. But in any event, I wanted to share that little thing with you. It really made me feel good. Let's talk about another court case. Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown and Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott filed a lawsuit against Glock, alleging that the company violated the state's Gun Industry Accountability Act and contributed to the gun violence crisis. Since 1990, Glock has manufactured a pistol that can be easily converted into a machine gun, Brown said. According to Mayor Scott, the city has seen an increase in Glock switches in the past few years. A switch is a device used to modify semi-automatic weapons, making them fully automatic. There is a growing threat to safety, Mayor Scott said. Those seeking to do harm in our communities are using these switches on easily modifiable Glock weapons to carry out criminal activity. Scott continued, these attachments, primarily used on Glock weapons and ghost guns, are able to turn a basic firearm into an illegal automatic machine gun that can fire as fast or faster than military-created firearms. How many errors are in that statement? According to the police commissioner, Richard Worley, the department has seen a sharp increase in the recovery of modified Glocks, with numbers nearly doubling from 2023 to 2024. In 2023, 35 Glock switches were recovered in Baltimore, and 65 were recovered in 2024, according to data from the Baltimore police. 70% of arrests where modified Glocks were recovered involved people who were prohibited from owning a firearm. So here you have someone committing a crime by owning a firearm and committing a second crime by owning a firearm when the firearm is actually illegal. Eric Tershwell, the executive director of Everytown Law, said Glocks are the #1 recovered gun from criminals in Baltimore and across the U.S. Quite frankly, I thought it was High Point. He alleges this is due in part for the ease of converting it into an automatic weapon. Glock designed these weapons. Glock has promoted its full auto capabilities, and Glock has failed to address this rapidly growing public safety nightmare, Tershwell said. According to Mayor Scott, modified Glocks have been recovered during carjackings, drug deals, and other violent crimes. The modified weapons are capable of firing 1,200 rounds per minute, according to A.G. Brown. Now, that's not really an accurate number. Yes, can it fire continuously 1,200 rounds a minute? Sure, but the magazines don't have 1,200 rounds in them. You wouldn't be able to pick it up and hold it accurately. You got, at the most, I've seen 33-round magazines, so it's probably a lot less with reloads. That's faster than the weapons of war I used in the Army, the Attorney General said. ATF agents called spray and pray because once the trigger is pulled, there is no control, only carnage. Glock knows this. They've known it for years. The lawsuit alleges that Glock uses social media and other platforms to promote the auto capabilities and knows the weapons are being converted. Funny, I have not seen anything on social media about fully automatic Glocks, and if I have, it's not even memorable, and believe me, I would remember that. According to the lawsuit, Glock has falsely claimed it cannot fix the problem. However, Tershwell says the lawsuit includes several ways that Glock can modify its weapons to prevent easy conversion. Through the lawsuit, leaders are demanding a court order that would ban Glock from manufacturing and selling its pistols in Maryland and force the company to implement reasonable safety features. Leaders are also demanding that the company pay restitution for its role in the Maryland gun violence crisis. Glock could have designed its pistols to prevent auto sears, also known as switches, from working, but they chose not to. That choice cost lives, A.G. Brown said. The Attorney General said that the lawsuit is the first to be filed under the state's Gun Industry Accountability Act, which was passed in 2024. The law prohibits companies in the firearm industry from knowingly contributing to harm through the creation of, sale, or weapons. This lawsuit against Glock comes 1 year after the city reached a $1.2 million settlement with Polymer 80, a manufacturer of untraceable ghost guns. The city's lawsuit accused the company of violating the Maryland Consumer Protection Act and intentionally undermining firearm laws by manufacturing and selling ghost gun kits and parts to buyers without background checks. That settlement set several demands, including that the P80 is prohibited from advertising in Maryland or selling ghost guns to residents, preventing nearby P80 dealers from selling ghost guns to Maryland residents, and prohibiting the company from providing customer support in Maryland, requiring P80 to provide quarterly reports to the city documenting all ghost gun sales in neighboring states. So you've got multiple sides of this argument going on. And it depends on the moment. Sometimes the pendulum sways one way, sometimes it sways another way. Folks, we're going to round out the show with discussion of a new product from Kimber. So we all know what the 1911 is, back about, 14 years ago. There's a new pistol that came out called the 2011, and basically it's kind of like a 1911, but it's a double stack, and Kimber is now introducing a 2K11, which is a cutting-edge double stack 1911 pistol with an optics-ready design, and it's available in both 9mm and 45. Very interesting. Some people love Kimbers, some people hate Kimbers. So Kimber just introduced this new pistol, the 2011. It's a double stack 1911 variant built on what's been dubbed the 2011 platform. And like I just said, it's available in 9 or 45. The 2011 can be purchased as a standard 2K11 or the upgraded 2K11 Target. Or, in both cases, OR stands for optics ready, which means it has a plate on it. Regardless of the model, the 45 ACP will ship with 3 13-round magazines, and the 9s will ship with 1 17 and 2 20-round mags. Barrels are 5 inches long and made of stainless steel. In a first look, there was a chance to run the Target OR, which means optics ready, not or something else, 9mm, last July, at a media event hosted by Kimber. 200 rounds of 9mm range ammunition was shot through a test gun, and the reviewer came away extremely impressed. There are some key takeaways from that event. First of all, balance. The pistol balanced very nicely in the shooter's hand and felt comfortable, even when mag dumping. That means rapid fire, which the reviewer did more than once. And it is heavy. There are lots of steel and weight that help reduce the recoil greatly, even when shooting off rounds fast. The various models weigh in between 40.1 and 42.9 ounces unloaded. The sights are fiber optic front post and generous rear notch. They come to one's eyes quickly and easily, and the rear sight was adjustable. They're tag precision sights is what they are. There's no problem placing 10 rounds into a half-dollar size group at 10 yards offhand. The reviewer would bet his house that the pistol is even more accurate than his intro shooting with the handgun. An aesthetic beast. It looks cool. My test 2011 Target OR sported what Kimber calls its Coyote PVD coating on the slide, which is kind of a bronzish brown. And the slide featured wavy serrations and 3 cuts on each side, exposing the barrel and lightening the slide a bit. Deep checkering cut into the grip sides, front strap and back strap made for a very solid hold. The competition-style magwell on the 2K11 Target OR was built in partnership with Stan Chen, who's one of the true masters of building 1911 and 2011 custom pistols today. Mags slid right in for fast reloads and popped out perfectly with the press of a release, the release button. They all ship with an adapter plate for optics designed with an RMR footprint. The Target model features a cover plate with an adjustable rear sight. The pistols also feature fluted bull barrels with deep crowns. Now, I always prefer a bull barrel on a 1911 just because they're a lot easier to disassemble and reassemble. The tapered magwell stabilizes the magazine during cycling, increasing reliability and protecting the slide stop and ejector. All grip modules are crafted from aluminum with an aluminum main housing spring. The match grade triggers are factory set at 3 to 4 pounds, and it's a very crisp and clean break. There's going to be more reviews in the future, but it looks cool. So it has, the slide is brush polished with DLC coating. The subframe also has DLC coating, and the grip module is a Type 3 hard coat anodized. Mainstream housing is the same. The barrel is Coyote PVD. The controls are DLC. Sights are Fiberlock Tag Precision front sights. And what is the price on this? Well, MSRP for the 9mm is $19.95. That is $1,995. And for the 45 ACP, it is a little bit more because there's more steel. It's a heavier duty gun at $2,125. The patented Fiberlock technology for the most durable fiber optic sights on the market. There's reports from a competitive shooter who's fired over 30,000 rounds with zero failure, no breakage, no discoloration. The fibers are machined to fit sights as part of the Fiberlock system, and there's no more melt and mushroom as tag precision fibers are tougher than the industry standard. Shooters have the ability to change fiber optics in less than a minute via the screw set on the front side of the sight. Sight bases are made from billet steel. Tag Precision currently offers 40 different sight models for common pistols on the market, and their website is tagprecision.com. That is TAGPRECISION.com. So they also have a bunch of other firearms. There's the new CD9S Micro 1911 9mm, and this article I'm looking at says it's the ultimate carry pistol. Discover its reliability and performance in the review. Now, each gun is different for each person. This particular one looks like a 1911. It is a 9mm, has 15-round magazines, and it's an interesting look. I've played with one at a firearms store. I haven't shot it, but it was on the wall, a rental wall. I thought it was neat, very heavy. I do like heavy guns, but not for concealed carry. So, I worked in law enforcement. I did carry a firearm, and the first firearm that I carried was a SIG 228 in 9mm. That's a 13-round double single action, and keep in mind, this was in the early 1990s. I worked for an organization where a couple of us on the security department were armed from time to time and authorized to be armed. I was one of those 3 people. The other, and really, honestly, it was because I was friends with the boss. That's the only reason. It wasn't because I was like an awesome dude or anything. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I carried it for a couple of years, and then I did not work in a position where I carried a firearm. However, when concealed carry came out, I went back to my SIG 1911. I'm sorry, my SIG 228. Whoa, that was an error. And what happened was I was a different size. I had gained a ton of weight. And quite frankly, I don't have a rear end. So carrying a heavy gun on nothing on a belt, that nothing's keeping it up other than the tension of the belt, made my pants fall down. So now I say in all my classes and to my lessons that steel guns really today, unless you can pull it off, are not that great for concealed carry, because unless you have a rear end, it's going to pull your pants down. So I always opt for the polymer guns. However, that doesn't mean I don't like steel guns. I love steel guns. Why do I like steel guns? Well, force equals mass times acceleration. If the force of recoil is exactly the same for a 9mm in a polymer frame or a steel frame, the steel frame has more mass and is going to be pushed back towards the shooter less, because force is going to be less. There's less mass in that equation. So I always recommend go with a polymer for concealed carry, or an ultralight, go with a steel gun for home defense. With that said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We will be back next week with much, much more. Have a great week and stay safe. We have monthly concealed carry license CCL classes in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. Dates can be seen at firearmmentor.com/classes. If you have a question, we can be reached at www.firearmmentorcard.com. That is our electronic business card, has all of our contact information and links in it. It's the easiest way to get a hold of us. Until next time, stay safe out there, and I'll see you at the shooting range. This is Marcus Melnick from Firearm Mentor signing off. The views expressed are not those of local community broadcasting, WYML LP, or its management, volunteers, or underwriters.